All right, Blazor fans, welcome to another Blazor Power Hour. I've got a special guest with me today. You may know him from somewhere, like maybe the last intro portion of the show. There was that. Is that somebody you know, Jeff?
I might have seen that guy hanging around the water cooler or something. Hey, Ed, so good to be here.
Thank you for coming. It's amazing to have you on the show. We've got a really important event coming next week that I know you've been working hard at behind the scenes with your colleagues there at Microsoft. It's a little something called .NET Conf.
Yeah, events like this, like planning a virtual event takes time. When we do a stream, when we do just a weekly thing, we've pretty much got a run of show that we know how things are going to go, and we have to plug in and change things up, and it takes a couple hours of planning each week. No big deal. A little bit of prep work, but it's where you're kind of in the groove. When you're planning an event with 80 sessions, 2 attendee parties, Keynote, product launch, community interactions, live video, recorded video being published that day, the product launch, all that stuff. We've been working on this since July.
Yeah. Wow. And you know, you're organizing the event, and you've got a lot of amazing folks there developing sessions for the event. Yeah. You know, all the program managers and engineers. You know, you're trying to organize all of those things, and then you yourself are doing like an MC type of thing. You're at the code party. You're introing people.
Yeah.
You're on my show. You've been a busy guy.
Gosh, and it's right. This is, to me, this is kind of the table stakes. We're going to be interacting. We're going to build and have a great time interacting with our community. Yeah, I'm committed, and I'm still doing the weekly things and visiting with folks and talking about .NET Conf. And while I might not be writing and producing sessions, the logistics and reviewing all the content coming in and taking a look at stuff and working with the team to figure out, hey, what goes into this whole thing. It's been a lot of work, absolutely, and we're in that final approach, right? 4 or 5 days till it starts, and we're so looking forward to it. We're looking forward to you out there tuning in and joining us next week. I mean, .NET 6 launch event it's going to be magical. It's going to be something phenomenal for everybody, the community, developers, the product teams. We're really excited about it. And gosh, Ed, you've been kind of busy too, haven't you? Working on a little bit of. I thought I saw a Charbonneau name there on the agenda.
Yep, I've got a session on the conference, and then I have 2 other conferences that align in the same week. So actually, one of them starts Friday here. I've got TDEV Conf coming up. That's a virtual this year, but normally it's down there in Tennessee. I'm doing that one on Friday.
Wait,
and then
a conference in Tennessee that isn't Codestock? Tell me more.
Let me see. Let me make sure I got the right location. Did I get that wrong?
No.
Is that no, it is Tennessee Developer Conference, TDEV Conf.
Cool.
Yeah, this year will be virtual. It's from the Tennessee.NET user group, groups of Chattanooga, Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, and Knoxville.
Oh, wow.
Some good folks putting that one together. Mr. Chad Green chipping in this year to help organize the online part of that one.
That's a pretty wide geography. Yeah, that is a big group of folks.
That one starts Friday and is free to attend, by the way, at tdevconf.com. I believe those were free tickets.
Okay.
So I'll be speaking there, and then Monday I'm traveling down to Atlanta for the Connect Tech event. And
yeah, that was originally organized by their Java user groups there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it started off as Java and JavaScript, and it just keeps getting more expansive into other languages and things. So I'm gonna go down there and hopefully there's some .NET folks there. I'm a little scared. Like it was a very heavy like Angular and React crowd there before, but now we've got some WebAssembly stuff bringing me into the mix. So we'll see how that turns out.
Oh, very
and
cool.
Then also on the 8th is another big release. We've got the Visual Studio release coming.
Yep, Visual Studio 2022. We're real excited about this. It's the first version of Visual Studio that's 64-bit. A whole bunch of artificial intelligence updates that have been added in there. Things that are going to help folks build applications faster, better, get help from the IDE. We're really excited about this. And of course, designers and tools that are going to help you build .NET apps better, support for .NET MAUI, all those good things coming in Visual Studio 2022.
Oh, look at these fantastic folks we have speaking. Amanda Silver, Scott Hanselman, David Fowler, Kendra Havens.
Is your screen still on the .NET Conf agenda?
Shoot. Okay.
I was going to say, hey, that's great.
It didn't. Let's see.
Different.
Let's try sharing it that way.
There you go.
I shared the tab, and even when you change URLs, I guess, or maybe it opened itself in a new tab. Maybe that's what happened. But yeah, lots of amazing folks here as well. Boy, that list keeps going on and on. So that'll be a good event as well. So I mean, that's a week packed full of stuff. I'll be in Atlanta this day, but I'm sure I'll be able to tune in while I'm waiting at the airport. And, we've catch some of this.
We've really made next week Developer Week. If you're in the Microsoft ecosystem anywhere, doing .NET, using Visual Studio, using Visual Studio Code, working with Azure, next week you want to tune in to either this event, which is Monday, and Tuesday starts .NET Conf. Tune into that. We've literally got 90 hours of content, brand new stuff that we're going to be talking about. Wow. It's all going to be available on YouTube. There's Learn modules launching next week. We've got new documentation launching next week, not to mention the products being available to download. There's folks running around and dotting the I's, crossing the T's on all the product this week to make sure it's ready to go for you out there. First thing Monday, Tuesday. The excitement is insane right now on our Teams boards. So
yeah, and I promised folks we would talk about Blazor on the show because it's the Blazor Power Hour. So I will mention here that there's new features in Visual Studio 2022 for Blazor.
Yep.
We've got a new Razor compiler and IDE integration.
The editor's been significantly improved.
Yep, editor's been updated, and then just this morning I was trying to get back into Blazor Hybrid to prep for some things that may or may not be talked about next week. We'll get into that later. So I'm in Blazor Hybrid. I haven't set up an app since the last preview came out, so the experience has changed a little bit.
It has.
I newed up a project, and if you're patient, I don't know, it took a second for this to pop up. I was a little impatient. I hit build and it failed. Yeah. But if you wait a second, the tooling will recognize what you're actually trying to do. And it's like, hey, you need to install some things before this is going to work. So you get a nice little pop-up in the Solution Explorer. Yeah. And that brought in all of the workloads that I needed to have the MAUI application that hosts the Blazor Hybrid app up and running. So once I hit that button, it installed all the bits and rebooted Visual Studio, and my project works now. So
I'm really excited about this, about that project model. I mean, we've had this kind of thing in the past with folks building Electron apps. Okay, great. You can use Node to go and build an application, and it's hosted effectively in a Chromium browser. But the problem with that is you're locked into JavaScript and you're working inside a browser that somebody else is maintaining. What I really like about this is we're using the web view component inside of Blazor. So that means you get the native browser on each one of those platforms. So you're on Android, you get a Chrome browser frame. You're on iOS, you get the Safari browser frame, et cetera, et cetera. And that means you're going to get a consistent experience. You don't have to fight with Chrome on all these to get it into all these things. And it's one project model. So I love that I can lift my application, drop it into that pages folder and into the dub root folder. And now I, as a web developer, have built a native application, a mobile application, an app that runs on Mac. Now it's interesting. And right, I feel empowered to be able to do more. And chat room, let me bring in here a little bit. I think this is where folks really want to be when they're doing web development and they're doing progressive web apps. Because I don't know about you, Ed. When I build and deploy a progressive web app, I've got that weird caching thing. And if I'm offline, reaching out and doing the whole services and pushing data back and forth, and it's just weird.
Yeah, I wrote an article about this, Jeff.
See, this is
and
called this is called setting up your co-host.
Funny you mentioned that. This just got published in the Visual Studio, or sorry, the Code magazine. Sorry, Code magazine. The Code magazine special edition for this month. It's a code focus magazine focused on the .NET 6 release, which we're going to be celebrating here next week. I was fortunate enough to be able to write this article for the magazine, and I talk about some of those things in the article here. It was kind of a tough piece to write because I wanted to make sure people coming into this understood exactly what you were just saying about the differences between how we can get Blazor on the desktop today versus how MAUI is going to change how we do that.
Hey, do you want to share a link to that on Twitch chat so folks can click through and read more?
Absolutely. So we'll pop this into chat.
Yeah.
The first part of the article, though, is what you were saying, Jeff. Like, we have progressive web apps. They work. They have some benefits. I go through some of what those things are. Get those in the Microsoft Store, Google Play. Here's a new one that wasn't here when I talked about this. This is really cool with PWAs. The Oculus Store.
Wait a sec. Are you kidding? You can get your PWA in the Oculus Store.
Yes.
I thought it had to be like an Android app or specifically built for Oculus. You can drop it directly in the Oculus Store.
This was announced at Facebook Connect. I think it's called Connect.
Right. It was F8, F9. I'm looking at my function keys and figuring out what the next one was going to be named.
There was an event. They changed their name and stuff during the event. So it's called Meta now, but that was their big event where they released the fact that they were renaming and some other things. The news kind of overshadowed some of the developer things that happened during that event.
Of course it did.
One of the major announcements, at least to me, was that you can use PWAs now in the Oculus Store.
I got to check that out. I got to see what that's all about. Yeah, I might have a PWA hanging out there that I'd be interested in seeing if it works over there.
I mean, you could put something like Clip Talk into PWA now.
It actually already is.
I mean, sorry, into an Oculus.
Into an Oculus. So I haven't put it in the stores just because it felt weird to put a PWA in the store. That and there's definitely some things that need to be adjusted on the mobile platforms, but I really want to have that native app on those various platforms. And that's why I'm looking at things like this article about, let's lift all of my content and put it into a .NET MAUI Blazor application.
Yeah. We have Electron we could go with too, but there's, Electron's got some interesting things, but then there's some difficulties that present itself there. So if you read through here a little bit, I mentioned that we're not actually writing, native .NET code here. We're using Electron.NET. So this is yet a wrapper within a wrapper within a wrapper. So you can feel the abstractions building up a little bit with that approach, and then we get to Blazor Hybrid.
Yep.
And things get much better.
and I'm seeing a couple folks here in the chat room. MCM Pistachio saying loving Blazor WASM web dev, looking forward to Blazor Maui, and it's not quite the same. It's really close, and all of our components do work in Blazor Maui by default. It's when you reach in to do some other webby things that you start to feel the edges of that, right?
And check out this breakdown here at the bottom. Don't miss this part of the article, Jeff. We've got a breakdown of Blazor Hybrid versus Electron versus PWA. Yeah. Is it installable? Can you do store publishing, access native APIs, and all the footnotes I had to put in here because it's such a loaded term, native. So yeah, it was an interesting thing to write. Hopefully it's a very interesting thing to read for everybody.
I want to make sure that folks also understand that .NET Maui is still in preview. They're hoping to wrap it up here in early part of 2022, and we're really excited about where this can go. And I noticed you were able to get the Android emulator working there on your machine. You're still running Windows 10, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I've got this little thing down here. I'm very scared to click on.
Yeah. So I did the update, and I'm running a Ryzen processor. AMD, Windows 11, and the Android emulator doesn't work right now. It's a known problem that Google has talked about, and I'm kind of stuck. I can't build and target Android yet with my machine, but I understand there's a fix on its way. They've been working on this.
So I've got the i9-9900
there you go.
series. So I don't know. I haven't looked into the problem. Sounds like you have. It's a AMD only issue. It sounds like
it is. It has to do with how they use the virtualization in Windows 11.
Interesting.
Do you mind if I take a look at some of the other comments here on chat?
Absolutely. Let's do it. What do we got here?
So Pradius saying a little bit off topic, is a subscription to Code Magazine worth it considering all the free articles online? I think so, because we want to continue to support great publications that are creating content for our communities. If nobody's paying for subscriptions and they have no way to make money, they're going to stop doing this.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. People think print is dead, but it's not. First of all, articles you read online are fantastic. Usually they're in very short form though. This article here is 20 pages in Microsoft Word. I don't know what that translates to in print. It's probably about, I don't know, I'd say 10 pages at least. That's a very long form article for me personally.
Yeah.
If you look at the scroll bar on the side as I scroll down, this is why we're just glancing over some of the content. It is a huge read.
So much good stuff. I read through this yesterday, I think. No, Monday. I read through it. Fantastic article. And I particularly read through it because it's exactly what I want to do with Clip Talk, with the application I've been building on my stream. So I want to continue to support these publications and continue encouraging that. So yeah, I would say yes.
The other big one here is travel's been kind of a muddy subject as of late with the coronavirus and stuff. But when travel starts to pick back up, magazines are super handy if you're doing a lot of travel, because they're much easier to like fish out of your backpack or suitcase, whatever you got with you, and pop those open and read those. The battery never dies. Never had the battery die once.
There you go.
E-readers are great, but the batteries, you forget to charge a thing in the morning, whatever. You got your Code Magazine, you just pull it out and, just read it there on the plane.
Yeah.
Hopefully traveling comes back soon. I've got that one trip this year.
I'm so looking forward to being on campus for .NET Conf next week. So it's my first time back in Seattle.
Oh, nice.
In 2 years.
Yeah, I miss Seattle.
Yeah.
This this could easily go to the I Miss Seattle show, so we probably should.
Hey, I see our friends from Rocket DevRel are here. Good to see you. Hello.
Yes, joining me in Atlanta next week.
Okay. All right.
Have a lot of friends coming together then.
Yeah. So now, Blazor with .NET MAUI is just one part of the puzzle. There is so much going on with .NET Conf. Literally for Blazor facing folks. I'm not even going to say just Blazor facing folks. I want to say web development folks. I went through and just jotted down some notes on some great content that folks need to check out. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Wow.
I got 18 sessions. I'm like, you need to tune into this. There's another .NET Conf speaker. How you doing there, Eagle? Hello,
yes,
hello.
Is. Talking about what's new in BUnit.NET 6.
Yeah. So there's...
So let's check at a glance here. We'll go through the agenda.
Okay.
Day one, we got Keynote, Scott Hunter.
Of course. Every year as long as I've been running .NET Conf, so better part of 6 years, Keynote with Scott Hunter. Absolutely. So
I'm looking forward to seeing him set the pace for the day.
Oh yeah.
And then the first day is all sessions from Microsoft Teams or .NET Teams.
Yeah.
So
I think this draws a nice line between, hey, you want to just learn the latest about the tool, the product announcement. Okay, here's the folks that make the tool so you can learn about it.
Fine. Yeah, I mean, you've got engineers and program managers and all sorts of folks that are actually putting their blood, sweat, and tears into the products. And I think it's awesome that they have a day to kind of get in front of people and get credit where credit is due. I know that's not why they do it, but
no tears.
They're proud of what they're doing.
That's right. They're happy. There's blood and sweat. There's no tears. There's no crying in .NET. Come on.
And then we have a virtual attendee party. I'm sure you'll have something to do with this, right, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. So we've been working on that. We've got a bunch of sponsors involved. Of course, there'll be a chat show. I'm going to be co-hosting with Richard Campbell, both virtual attendee parties.
Richard Campbell.
Have you heard of his
name? Sounds familiar. Yeah. Canadian?
He might be.
I think so. Likes bourbon?
Yeah. I thought he was a Kiwi. Anyways. So lots of fun. Always great to talk to Richard, and we have a fantastic time discussing and talking with you out there. This isn't just a couple of folks talking to each other. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you during events like this. So yeah, we've got prizes to give away. We've got trivia. It's going to be a bit of fun.
Will we see Dee Dee at the code party? Is she coming?
Dee
Dee Walsh?
Probably, yeah. You might know somebody else there. Somebody named Sarah might be involved as well.
Sarah. I think I know Sarah. Good people.
Yeah.
Good people.
Aztec Consulting has a fine question there. I don't know if you want to highlight that.
Yeah, what is this? I have never heard of Sparkly Blazor. What is that?
Yeah, right. So
I'm thing or a comment?
I might have something with sequins and purple that
I'll be Sparkly Blazor. I thought this was like I've been hanging around Alyssa and these JavaScript folks so long that I thought this was a new
you can find this on NPM. It's only got about
or something. Yeah,
you can find it. Yeah, you can install this on NPM. It's a series of components. It's only got about 10 high security warnings, which I think is about 15 better than the others. Wow. So yeah, Sparkly Blazor JS. See that? There it is.
This is the new left pad of .NET.
That's right, Sparkly Blazor JS. I will have another Blazor to debut next week.
Very nice.
Yes. But absolutely we'll have that on board. Day 2, sessions from teams all around Microsoft. So where we draw the line on day 2 stuff. So we have the 2 virtual attendee parties. One's really great for folks in Asia Pacific region, West Coast of the States, because it's right there at the end of the day, first thing in the morning. If you're in India, if you're in Australia, fantastic. The second one, great timing for folks that are in Africa, Europe, East Coast of the United States. We wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to tune in and have some fun and win some prizes, talk a little bit about what's going on, and have a good time. But day
Very
2
nice.
content, folks all around Microsoft. So this is where we looked at the agenda, we looked at the submissions we had. We said, okay, we want day 1 to be, here's the product team kind of announcing and talking about .NET. Day 2, we want to say, all right, what can you do with this now with all the other cool Microsoft things? Whether it's Azure, it's Power Apps, it's Teams, it's you name it. Let me show you some other ways that you can interact and work with that. And I gotta, we'll get into some of the content coming, dig into it a little bit further.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's some big names in there that I want to say, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, there's a session to start the day on day 2 that you don't want to miss out there, chat room. You need to tune in and see this one. And day 2, day 3 is kind of weird because and scheduling looks kind of funny because day 3 actually starts at 5:01 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, I'm looking here like this is overlapping, like we're going all night long.
It does. 24 hours straight, folks from all over the world, 6 of the 7 continents represented. Sorry, Antarctica. And right, you're going to be able to tune in and find somebody at a normal time for you. You don't need to stay up till 2 a.m. to tune in and watch. You'll be able to find somebody at a time that's appropriate for you, that's from your part of the world, from your region, talking about some of the great stuff that they've done with .NET that can integrate with this, that, or the other thing, or an open source project that's going to help you be a better .NET developer, or guidelines and things that are going to help improve the way you build applications. Are we going to do reruns for sessions? Actually, they're all recorded. They're all recorded. We won't be doing a rerun per se, but you'll be able to find them out on YouTube. They'll all be available within a day or two.
On demand.
On demand, out on the tube of all thing use. So
look at the troublemaker that just showed up here.
Hello. Another live
Layla codes
friend.
It. Good friend of ours.
I was surprised, like when we put the call out for other content from folks from different organizations from out in the community, and what's some of the things that you can do and interact with this, we got a pretty cool submission from folks at IBM. IBM? Are you kidding me, Fritz? What the heck are you doing? What's IBM doing over here? They're going to show us how they use is it ASP.NET on the IBM Z. I'm like, that's different. Like, that's enterprise level development that I wasn't expecting. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from those folks about running .NET on an IBM Z, a mainframe. Like, are you kidding me? All right, show me what you got. That's pretty cool. So we should get in and talk about some of the code. You are a troublemaker there, Ms. Layla. Absolutely. Another .NET Conf speaker there, by the way. So should we talk about some of this content?
Absolutely.
I have a hit list here of 18 sessions, none of which are presented by a guy named Charbonneau. I
don't know the guy anyway.
Never heard of him. So first, of course, you're going to want to see the keynote, talking about all the things .NET, how some of these things connect and look at each other. You got to tune in and see the keynote. It's going to be fantastic. There's a keynote wrap up that they're going to talk about how it went, some of the things coming down, and what you should check out. Of course, that's going to be fun. C# 10 coming up right after that with Mads and Dustin. Here's the thing, friends. You want to see this session, and I'm going to tell you why. For 5 years straight, it was the number 2 rated session at Microsoft Build. There's a new version of C#. Mads and Dustin, bar none, are the session you want to watch to learn about new features in C#, because Mads is the language designer who builds it, and Dustin is one of the engineers who helps build the compiler. You need to tune in and see these two, because They have such a great rapport with each other, talking about the features, giving background about where some of the stuff came from, and learning the programming language from the folks that built it is pretty cool. You gotta tune in and see those two folks.
So I think it's worth mentioning like how lucky we are that this can be virtual. Like if anything good came out of this pandemic, it's the fact that we do some of this stuff virtual now. So where, you know, there's always going to be a place for the live and in-person stuff, which is fantastic. But having the ability to access this online is also phenomenal because I know from the MVP summit, going to the MVP summit in person, if you are not in that room 10 minutes, you know, after the prior session lets out, you are not getting a seat. Like this is packed to the walls. People are outside the room trying, you know, with a cup to the door. Like, I'm not joking. Like these are things that happen. You've got people like, you know, sitting Indian style outside the door, waiting, you know, to just hear what's happening inside the room. And now you get it piped straight to your face with the interwebs. So
yeah, we're pretty excited about being able to bring this content. And yes, at Microsoft Build, when some of these folks are speaking, the room only seats 2,000, and we fill it. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I was gonna say
we're only on day one here. Well, hang on. I want to make sure folks know to check out Dan Roth and Maddie Legere in the next 2 sessions. Enterprise grade Blazor apps with .NET 6, really showing you how to harden and build with some of those new Blazor features.
Hot reload, error boundaries. This is a very important one here. State preservation during pre-rendering.
And you know what? Because I build a lot of static websites, I don't run into that. I was reading about it. I'm like, why would I want this? I'm like, oh yeah, folks run Blazor sitting on top of ASP.NET web server websites. So yeah, you do want that kind of thing.
Cuts down your load time. You can render everything on the server, so you don't have the big loading statement there. I read an article. I won't call out who it was or where I read it, but they were complaining about the loading time of Blazor and how it can't be fixed. And I'm like, this fixes it right here, right there. You can pre-render it on the server, and then you have state preservation. So if that is a huge concern for you, you've got a solution for it.
And I've had some folks suggest to me that I could do something like that with ClipTalk. Let's do a pre-render of the homepage, and then have Blazor load in and give you all of the data on top of that, and start kicking off from that point. And to do that with a static website means I need to pre-render the HTML. Interesting stuff. I'm not quite there yet, but might get into it.
And it might use view state, which, you know, whatever. But
what?
No, I'm kidding.
What?
I'm not kidding. But you'll have to read into it for yourself. Yeah. It's very similar. It's not actually view state.
It's different.
It's different. It sounds similar, but it's different.
That next session with Maddie, we talked a little bit about Blazor with .NET MAUI at the top. This is going to give you at least some of that high level stuff about what's going on with .NET MAUI, and you'll hear a little bit about what's happening there. Of course, we got to jump down to Dimitri there talking about .NET development with Hot Reload. Hot Reload has been huge as I've been building not just Blazor applications, but Azure function applications, because it'll reload, and inside the the Azure function emulator, it'll reload the functions, so I can change the code in my Azure functions. Yeah, and because they're all stateless, because they're Azure functions, they just pick up and keep right on running, and away we go. Great stuff there. Our friends from Rocket Dev, I'll point out that one of their teammates, Jason Bach, is speaking. Yes, he'll be there as well. We'll get to him. Let me see. Scanning down a little bit. Kendra and Mika at 3 and 3:30 listed there. So this is Eastern time. Those are listed. These are cool tooling improvements in Visual Studio that are going to help you as a Blazor developer. You definitely want to see. Speaking of BUnit, we mentioned earlier, plugs in real nice with the testing tools, and you're going to get some great productivity improvements through Roslyn Rosalind Analyzer, some of the AI suggestions you're going to get popping out that Mika is going to cover in her session coming up after that.
Nice.
Next one.
Yeah, if you're doing any kind of backend work with your Blazor apps,
Sure.
that's probably something you're going to want to see.
Yep. BUnit, that's right, Eggsy. It helps with managing insects. So that's totally a thing, right? And when you put all your tests together, they're not fixtures. No, they're hives. That's BUnit, right? Eagle, do I have that right? Is that how that works? Yes, very sweet.
It stinks a little. I don't know.
Oh,
call it sweet.
Yeah. Sounds about right there. So see that we're literally throwing this against the wall. Next generation Blazor components coming up after that. Don't just build components to or parts of user interface to use inside your application. The way that you can build and share components that help automate some of your business logic and features, fantastic to be able to do. Check out this session. And it even makes sense then to wrap other more general purpose components like that might be coming from a component vendor. And so you have all of that inside of a Blazor component already set up, already ready to go. So you can just embed and reuse that wherever you need it, not just in your web app, but also in your Blazor Maui app.
Yeah, I think this was one of the ones that we push some feedback on as well. Include required component parameters. So there's a lot of times where the component really doesn't do anything unless you set a parameter on it. It needs to be fed some kind of data to be useful. So this gives you, a compiler check to say, hey, you need to set this or it's, going to fail in some way. So we've got some new features there. This is another one, generic type inference from ancestor components. So I don't know. I know some folks that write data grids. It seems to be like a huge deal to them.
Yep.
So the idea here is the parent component determines the types of the child components.
Yep. This was something I ran into when I was building the Blazor web forms components. You would define, hey, I'm using a data grid, and exactly your example, specify here's the data type, and I need that to flow down into my data rows. So now that generic type flows all the way through instead of having to pull all kinds of reflection games to figure out the type and pass it along.
Yeah, now the compiler can do that for us. So we don't want to give too much away. Make sure you watch the session.
Absolutely. Of course, Alon Lipton there at 6:30. Build cross-platform native apps with .NET MAUI and Blazor. This is Alon's the engineer leading the development of Blazor WebView, .NET MAUI for WPF, WinForms. Really, really good person to be speaking on this. Alon's a font of knowledge. Absolutely tremendous to work with and has so much insight into not just how .NET works and how these components fit together, but the guy's been working on ASP.NET since almost the beginning. He knows this stuff in and out and has some amazing insight he'll share as part of this session.
Yeah, I was in constant contact with him when I was writing my article on Blazor Hybrid.
Oh, I bet.
He was very responsive and helpful in getting me where I needed to be on that content. Because essentially when I wrote that article, I don't know if, it's not a lot of people write magazine articles. We'll just say it that way. They're written very far in advance.
Yes.
So I was working with some pretty,
some pretty raw bits, huh?
Yeah. Bleeding edge stuff. And I needed help getting it running. And it's not like something I can just go, well, just read the docs, because there's no docs.
That's right. That's right.
So the docs in my case were Elon and Dan Roth and Steve and them. So
going right to the product team.
Yeah.
Speaking of Steve, the next session that I think folks should check out is on day 2, first thing in the morning, 9 a.m. start time Pacific. You have to scroll back up. There's a tab at the top there. There you go. There was a question. Hey, what about Steve Sanderson? Yes. right there at noon Eastern, new Blazor WebAssembly capabilities in .NET 6.
Mm-hmm.
Steve has amazing demos that he shows whenever he talks about Blazor, whenever he talks about anything, any technology, and particularly you'll hear MVPs, Microsoft MVPs talk about when Steve showed up at the MVP Summit and started showing Blazor to folks.
Mm-hmm.
It blew our mind. I mean, he showed it at NDC London first, and then he brought it to MVP Summit, and folks were
Standing
literally
ovation at 10 minutes in.
Yeah. And it was very raw compared to where it is now.
Yeah.
I was talking to Steve about this session earlier this week, and he said that he has this timed down to the minute. It is full of demos, full of examples for you to check out and get involved with. If you are serious about Blazor and you want to see kind of the potential you can do with it, you gotta see Steve, the inventor of Blazor, showing off his demos as part of this session.
Yeah, he's quite a fantastic person to talk to. He's extremely brilliant, but he can still talk to your level. Like, you know what I mean? He can break things down for beginners in a way that, you know, it's easy to understand what he's thinking. And he gives fantastic sessions, but he's able to build these amazing tools and, you know, like Blazor. And I can't wait to see what he's going to talk about with the native dependencies, because this involves, you know, compiling from other languages to WebAssembly and then interoping with .NET in the browser with these assemblies. So you can use things, and some of them are listed here, like Rust.
Yeah.
Rust has gained some traction on the WebAssembly front, and a lot of people seem to really like that. So this is like, you get NuGet for all your .NET stuff, and then all of a sudden, like, the Rust ecosystem's over here, you're like, oh, I can use that too.
What I struggle with is folks that say they would rather use Rust to build web applications. I look at that and I'm like, why? It's not
That's an interesting
optimized for
one.
this type of thing.
No,
So,
I haven't seen a front end framework on Rust, but they can compile, you know, assemblies to you know, their libraries to WebAssembly.
yeah.
But there's not like an Angular, React, Blazor,
For
Rust for Rust.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that language probably wouldn't be very suitable for that type of thing.
When are we going to get Rusty React? I don't know. So, anyways,
COBOL on cogs. Have you seen that one?
No.
It's like Ruby on Rails, but it's for COBOL. COBOL on cogs. Look it up. It's a thing. Not joking. No.
Okay. All right. You make me sad. Wow. All right. The next one I want to highlight there is a little bit further down. Fullstack.net with Blazor WebAssembly and Azure Static Web Apps with Anthony Chu and Simona Cotton. Azure Static Web Apps is a very inexpensive way for you to launch and start hosting your Blazor applications out there. I do this with ClipTalk. I do it with my Hats Collection website. And being able to build and deploy and get that running with all of your build scripts made available to you from the get-go, terrific project layout, solution layout, so you can have that separation of, here's my back-end services, here's my front-end UI, really easy application model that you can embrace and really find success with. And there's a completely free platform version of this that you can host with. You don't have to pay anything to host and deploy with this. And if
you said the F word, people love the F word.
That's right. If you hit millions of executions of your Azure functions, then it'll start to cost you. But if you hit millions of executions of your Azure functions, you're in a pretty good place. You're in a real good place. So absolutely check this out. I'm a big fan of this programming model.
Is this what you're using for ClipTalk?
Yes. Yep. In fact, I've got 3 web servers stood up in that model. One in East Coast United States, one in Northern Ireland, and one in Singapore. And I have them geo load balance for folks. Yeah.
Very nice.
Let me see if we continue down. I skip all the way down to, it's listed as 10:30 p.m. for us East Coast folks. There it is. Blazor B2C authentication and authorization. This is the first of the community sessions I wanted to highlight. Michael Washington is a fantastic. He's an MVP. He's a great speaker. You can find him at some of the VS Live events, Live 360 events. But authentication and authorization is one of those topics that I avoid when I get into Blazor, just because security scares me. I work too much with Barry Dorns, our security officer, and I don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. And Michael does a fantastic job explaining it. If you need to do security with Blazor, this is a great session to tune in for.
Yeah, Michael's been an MVP for like a long time, and then for some reason he wasn't for a little while. But Blazor brought him back to the MVP program, and now he's been an MVP for probably like 3 years, I think, since then. But before that, I mean, he was MVP for a really long time.
He was an MVP specializing in Silverlight and Windows Phone also. Not quite sure what happened in the middle there, but came back with Blazor stuff, and yep, he's back on MVP. I see a couple folks here. Aaron Stanley King in chat says iffy about adding that static talk, but we sold Aaron. Reminder is set. Yeah, building static websites with Blazor, being able to do that free and no cost, absolutely, really good to do. And yes, Eagle, you're right. Temp versions of your site, it's huge to be able to do that. I don't know about you, Ed, but when I was building things with app service and I would get ready to deploy a fix, I would never use the staging site, because setting up and deploying to a staging site was a whole thing. Well, I need to get a different publish profile. I need to configure this, and I need to bring over all my configuration and set up all the staging things. The PRs just load directly into it. It allocates and deploys immediately to a staging slot. This is the undersung feature that has me committed for a long time to major Azure static sites. Yes, that was a Barry mentioned, Saduki. So good to see you, Saduki.
Yeah, I never claimed to be the DevOps guy. Like I always threw it over the wall on that one. But I write the code and then I throw it like that, right over the wall.
Our friend Dan Siegel asking comments here. It annoys him that Blazor WebAssembly templates set you up to query an API, but Blazor server seems to encourage you to inject your DB context into the components. It'd be cool if there was more on getting an authenticated HTTP client in Blazor server. You know what? You're not wrong. And I think showing that little bit of abstraction and redirection, injecting an iRepository object that is implemented as a authenticated HTTP client or as a DB context, I think that would be just fine to make visible inside a template and show that off.
I think it might be a different like checkbox or something in addition to the existing template. Well, but definitely onto something.
Yeah, it's not visible there, but I think that can. I agree with Eagle in the next comment there. Don't directly inject HTTP client or DB context into your components. Inject an interface, an abstraction, so that you can have that separation.
Yeah. It sounds like something somebody should write into a workshop, Eagle. Huh?
Actually, I think, do we have that in the pizza workshop? I think we do have it in the pizza workshop. But I think as folks look forward and you look at your Blazor components not just being portable between client and server, and you start thinking about taking it over to .NET MAUI, you're going to want that abstraction even more so, because when you get into .NET MAUI, you're going to be querying it in a completely different way.
Yeah, I'm working on a workshop for Manning, and this is one of the this is actually the step I'm writing as of like this afternoon.
Okay. Let me go through and highlight some more of the content. I gotta call out the Ingstrom hour here. It's listed as 2 a.m. there for us, but it's an hour of angstroms. Look at this. It's all Swedes, all Stockholm, all hour long. Look at this. Jimmy Engstrom, Jessica Engstrom. They're a fantastic a couple that are going to be talking about connecting gadgets to Blazor. Jimmy does this great talk about bringing your Bluetooth devices and getting them connected to a Blazor component. That's really cool to see what you can do with the platform.
Yeah. It's interesting because Jimmy's written a Bluetooth JavaScript interop library for Blazor.
Okay.
And I believe that's on NuGet. We'll have to find out at 2 o'clock on Tuesday.
2 o'clock our time. It's Wednesday into Thursday. So Thursday morning for us here on the East Coast, it's like 11 p.m. For folks on the West Coast. And of course, I can't do the math. It's like 9 in the morning, Central European. And Jessica, right after, talking about practical tips to improve your UX. Jessica gave a version of this talk when we had our Windows.NET Conf focus event earlier this year, and folks loved it. Easily the most commented on session. Folks really enjoyed seeing more and talking about UX design when we think about Windows apps, and we're going to talk about it again with respect to all kinds of applications here.
Yeah, I saw her do this session on, I don't know exactly where it was, but the chat was just going crazy. They really enjoyed the content here. And I think this really is important for Blazor. We brought this up for Blazor for a reason. I mean, it's a user interface that you're writing with Blazor, so you need to kind of brush up on the UX stuff. Even if you're not a UX developer, I mean, you should know what goes into the process. And she does a good job of breaking it down for people so you can understand where the importance of UX is in accessibility. She touches on accessibility and how people see colors, and you want to make your Blazor apps as usable as possible for as many people as possible. So Jessica's a good resource to watch for that.
And I mean, I had somebody open an issue for me about ClipTalk, where for some reason you can't use the hotkeys. You can't use the up-down paging. What is that? I don't know who that person is. What's on the front? So accessibility on the front of ClipTalk is not there.
Won't zoom, but
no, I don't know what that is.
What's going on over here? I saw this out of the corner of my eye at the bottom of the page, Jeff. What is happening here?
This is Mish Manners here right next to me. She's our friend Michelle Mannering from GitHub. She's right there, and Javier and Beth. I don't know what that is right there.
This chicken suit? Are we in a chicken suit?
That might have been a thing. All right, I have 4 more sessions I want to quickly call out here as we're wrapping up. We're running out of time here. 7 a.m. on day 3 is Purnima Nayar talking about Blazor and GraphQL. A topic that I get asked a lot is, well, how do I do GraphQL with Blazor?
Yes, I've heard this one before too.
Yeah. So Purnima has a great session talking about how you can pull this together. Earlier on day 2, Jeremy Lickness is going to talk about how you can work with GraphQL and expose GraphQL endpoints with Entity Framework. I encourage folks to check that out. This guy at noon Eastern over here, response and adaptive tactics for Blazor. I don't know.
We got to fix the typo. We got to fix the typo. It's responsive and adaptive.
That's right.
And it's my fault. I sent it like this. I thought
it's all your fault.
Thought I sent a fix in, but
that's right. Yeah. So always great to see you present. And I love this topic because folks really think about the browser as one size when they build Blazor applications. Oh, it's just for a desktop. Well, what about when it gets onto a tablet? Somebody browses to your application on a tablet.
What about when this happens?
Yeah. And you brought some of those capabilities to ClipTalk, and we've benefited from it, and we've tuned and improved it a little bit. You've got some great NuGet packages out there that help with this kind of thing, make it a lot easier for folks.
We got Blazor size out there. It's thank you for the compliments there. It was a fun thing to create, and it's really going to shine, I think, with Blazor Hybrid, because as we saw earlier, I pulled up, I think I still have the emulator going. I mean, this might be what you're deploying to with Blazor Hybrid. So you need to know what your screen size is to get the appropriate components on that page and make sure they, if I have a data grid on my desktop, data grid's a little crampy on a phone. So maybe you want to take these and swap these to cards instead of data grid items. Just have them in cards so you can scroll down the cards and see them in much greater detail.
That one's not too bad. But if there was a 5th or 6th column there, I'm right there with you. 4 wide here, I could probably drop the year because I know when the weather forecast is. It's the next 4 days. But you're right. You're absolutely right there.
That's a nice follow there. Steve Smith right after me. He's fantastic about his clean coding practices.
He is.
Even though it's ASP.NET Core and it's not Blazor, just keep watching. Just keep watching right after me.
Yep. 3 p.m. there is a session about embedding Power BI reports on your Blazor site.
Interesting.
Very cool stuff for folks that are building in the enterprise. You want to check out, you want to be part of sharing some of those Power BI interactions, be able to put some other, wrap that Power BI report with some of the other things that are going on so folks can take action that immediately impacts that report. You want to check out and be part of Edgar's session there. Last session I want to highlight is all the way down 7 p.m. right there at the bottom. Host, deploy, and scale ASP.NET Core Blazor server. Second to last session of the event. If you're running with Blazor server because you don't want to deploy all your DLLs, you want to keep them all in your data center, you want to be able to scale and share that to many servers. There's ways to do that. We have some documentation on it, but here's going to be some practical solutions from Jose Javier Colombi as part of this.
It always impresses me how easy Azure SignalR service is to integrate in your app. Every time I look at it, I'm like, it's really just like 2 lines.
It's 2 lines.
Really?
It is.
Really? I don't have to rewrite my code. I just need to put this in my startup and it's magic. It just does what it's supposed to do. Always surprises me. We have some comments here as well. This is one that doesn't look like it's addressed in the .NET Conf. Does Blazor have a way to have state management? There are some basic state management things that you can do that are very, very easy. How do you share data between 2 separate components without implementing some kind of flux pattern by yourself? This actually isn't too hard. I don't know if I've done it on a Blazor Power Hour or not, but I'd love to follow up on that question somehow.
So there's 3 ways to share data between components, right? You can either pass a parameter. You can have, which means you can also have those cascading parameters so that you pass data directly into another component. You can do dependency injection and have some sort of a state object that you load data into and it gets injected into those other components. And the final way is to do application storage in the browser so that it's stored browser side and you just fetch it out of there and read it in your components when you need it. And I forget the name of the component that Chris Sainty wrote. I use it a bit in Clip Talk.
Blazor storage.
Yeah, Blazor storage does that. Real easy to interact with and fetch.
Eagle mentions Fluxer and Blazor State are pre-canned flux patterns, so you do not have to implement those by yourself. And then if you want a little bit of middle ground, if you do want to implement some of it yourself, but not all of it, or have something pre-canned, there is Mediator, which is kind of a generic pattern that you would use on your backend. Also works on the front end, and I think Blazor State uses that under the hood for it.
But Mediator is more of a CQRS architecture management framework. It's not going to manage state so much.
I think it's used in Blazor State. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Why?
I think I don't remember, but I know you
That's
could. It's got similar patterns to Flux that you can utilize
feels like swatting
for
a
state. Yeah, it may
fly
be
with a sledgehammer.
a little heavy-handed, but it, it's a thing.
Hmm. Okay. Being used to loosely couple actions and commands together.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
I might choose to do that differently, but if that works for them, fantastic. Yeah, so those are the big Blazor focused sessions that I would recommend folks tune in, check out. And I'm really excited about this event. I mean, like I said, we've been working on this since July. A lot of planning, a lot of logistics going into it. We've got
Mhm.
digital swag available. Folks from Code Magazine helping us out with the content that you were showing on the .NET 6 launch website.
There's the F word
Launch
again.
issue. Yeah. Free. A .NET Purple theme for your Visual Studio Code. All kinds of wallpapers available for your watch. Yeah, for your watch. Really
My
cool
wife, one of
stuff.
those fancy watches. She loves it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. Dan mentions referring to Blazor Hybrid. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. All for Blazor, but not as a pattern for developing mobile apps. It's not my primary way that I would recommend folks do it, but if you've already got content built for the web, why not bring it over?
You're mentioning things I'm trying to link to. So popping a Code Magazine link in chat here as
There we
well.
go.
So this is the full issue. We highlighted my article earlier, but that article is in a much larger volume here. This is a special code focus. I can't get the graphic to go bigger anyway.
Yeah.
The people in this are fantastic. I'm sure you recognize many of them, like Dan Roth and Julia Learman. I mean, just an awesome roster of people that wrote for this .NET 6 edition. So and look at that cross advertising there, Jeff. Isn't that a
Look at
beautiful thing?
that. Look at that.
Like back to
Absolutely.
.NET Conf there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Code Magazine. They're covering it, from a written perspective. So make sure you grab a copy of the Code Focus edition. They did this last year as well. I think I got to be part of that last year too. I think I wrote about this thing called Blazor last year, but yeah, they do this with every release so far, and it's always a great read.
Yeah, we've really appreciated the support the folks Code Magazine have been able to help out with .NET Conf, and this is just the beginning. There's all kinds of local events, and all the content is available for folks to download, present at their own events. We're really excited and happy that this is going to be taking off next week.
Yeah. And if you reach out to me, I mean, I'll give you a free pass to the Telerik REPL for Blazor.
Ooh.
Right. Yeah. So
okay.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's completely free.
Oh,
it's already free.
It's good stuff. That's really cool stuff.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't caught this one yet, you can go. There's a press release type of post here. But Telerik REPL for Blazor, you can get online and just code till your heart's content right in the browser. You don't have to install anything on your machine, and you can share code snippets about Blazor, help your friends troubleshoot problems, yada, 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 all right in the browser. It's kind of like try.net, but Blazored version of try.net. So you can run your Blazor code right here in the browser. And I've been using this all week to build some demos and things I've been sharing on my Twitter.
Cool.
And you can put some pretty complex code in here. I was pretty surprised at what I was able to do in here. I think it was Alyssa. She was looking for a more advanced to-do application, and I gave her a to-do list. It was like five C# files. I think it was like 4 components in a startup CS file that did the to-do app with an undo and redo button in the to-do app.
Nice.
So, I was able to at least do that much in here. It's pretty neat. And then you can embed these in your blogs, which is super helpful if you're writing a blog post about Blazor. You get like the live preview right there in your blog post. You don't have to rely on screenshots. You can just put the live running code right there in your blog post, so people can touch the code and make changes and come back and see how infected. Yeah, it's very cool stuff there. So yeah, got a little sidetracked, but I'm pretty happy with that. That's a cool thing that we're sharing with the community. I joked about free passes. It's free passes for everybody. There's no sign up required. No, it's all free. Just go to the website. Somebody posted it here. Suduki posted it in chat for everybody. Thank you for that.
All right.
Lots of friends here in chat. Loving to see all these familiar people in chat room.
Yep. And Layla's reminded me, I'm due for another meeting.
I better let you go, Jeff.
Yeah.
We'll wrap it up here. I appreciate your time, though, and coming on the show here to talk about the .NET Conf. Amazing work that you and your team have put together for that conference, and looking forward to watching and presenting myself.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, everybody. We will see you next week at .NET Conf. I think we're going to have some limited shows here on Code It Live because we're going to be involved with the .NET Conf stuff. So take care, and we'll see you all soon.
Have a good one.